Here, where is, okay. Guess I'll be leading the pledge. Oh, here he is, okay. We will now have a pledge and an invocation, should he please, from Councilman Gilbert.
Will we stand? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, we need a, okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Minutes approved. There is no special presentation this evening, so now we'll move on to ordinances on final reading. Madam Clerk, 5A.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 11, Article 20, Short-Term Vacation Rental Certificate, Section 11.510, by amending the definition of short-term vacation rental district to adopt a new short-term vacation rental overlay district map for property extended on Seminole to end at 3218 Pinewood Avenue.
Councilman Mitchell.
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Coonrod. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to ordinances on first reading. 6A, please.
An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 24, Article 15, Section 24.511, to establish a moratorium relating to the operation of dockless electric scooters and bicycles.
Councilman Smith, followed by Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move approval.
Okay. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. We'll move on to resolutions. 7A, please, Madam Clerk.
A resolution declaring surplus of an abandoned 10-foot sliver of property located at 1134 East 14th Street, identified as a portion of tax map number 146PE008, and to quitclaim the city's interest in the sliver to the property owner of record.
Councilman Byrd, what's your pleasure? Been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Smith. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. B, please, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the Chief Information Officer to renew the city's existing blanket agreement with Carasoft Technology Corp. to purchase Acela Public Service platforms, including Treasury Finance, Economic and Community Development, and Public Works Services for the contract year beginning May 24, 2019 through May 23, 2020 for an annual cost not to exceed $234,214.63.
Councilman Henderson.
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Byrd. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. C, please.
A resolution to confirm the mayor's appointment of Otis L. Moyer to the Passenger Vehicle for Hire Board.
Councilwoman Coonrod. It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilman Byrd. All in any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. D, please.
A resolution confirming and approving the appointment of Warren E. Logan, Jr. as a member of the Electric Power Board of Chattanooga from the effective date hereof until April 15, 2024, and thereafter until a successor is appointed and qualified.
Councilman Gilbert,
Move to approve.
followed by Councilman Byrd. Would you like some of this, Councilman Mitchell?
I'll wait. Thank you.
All right, thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. E, please.
A resolution confirming and approving the appointment of Marcus Shaw as a member of the Electric Power Board of Chattanooga from the effective date hereof until April 15, 2023, and thereafter until a successor is appointed and qualified.
Councilman Mitchell.
Move approval.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Vice Chairman Henderson. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. F, please.
A resolution authorizing the approval of change order number 1, final, for Reynolds Construction LLC relative to contract number W09011201 Orchard Knob Pump Station improvements for an increased amount of $189,193.99 to release the contingency amount of $140,806.01 for a revised contract amount of $3,508,193.99.
Councilman Byrd.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Coonrod. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. I know y'all was fighting over this, but that's okay. Give us a little piece of this action. Next, please, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the city purchasing director to enter into an agreement with Omnia Partners Cooperative Purchasing Organization formed by merging the formerly separated cooperatives: 1, the Cooperative Purchasing Network, TCPN; 2, National Intergovernmental Purchasing Alliance, National IPA; and 3, U.S. Communities.
Council, what is your pleasure?
Move approval.
Been moved and properly seconded by Councilwoman Byrd. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries. Now we'll move on to purchases. Ms. Woodward.
Good evening.
Good evening, Bonnie.
For your consideration tonight, we have first, on behalf of the Public Works Department, 6 purchases. First being the purchase of a gearbox replacement for the thickener system at the Waste Resources Division to be awarded to Walker Process Equipment in an amount of $32,575. Next is a new blanket contract for vibration analysis and infrared thermographic services to be awarded to Chattanooga Armature Works in an estimated annual amount of $145,000. Next, we have 2 new blanket contracts for variable frequency drives, direct current drives, and electronic board services to be awarded to first Rome Electric Motor Works and second Remco for a total estimated annual amount of $245,000. Next, we have a new blanket contract for auto glass windshield installation and replacement to be awarded to Aaron's Auto Glass in an estimated annual amount of $135,000. Next, we have the increase to the authorized expenditure for painting services, which is awarded to DACA Specialty Services in a revised total estimated annual amount of $850,000. Next, we have the blanket contract renewal for concrete to be awarded to Ready Mix USA in an estimated annual amount of $350,000. And finally, on behalf of the Information Technology Department, we have 2 new blanket contracts for structured cabling services to be awarded to First Integrated Networking Technologies, LLC, and Second Institutional Network Communications for a total estimated annual amount of $1 million.
Council, what is your pleasure? We're moving properly seconded by Vice Chairman. Any questions? All in favor by the sign of aye. Opposed is nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Council, is there any other business you would like to bring before the floor this evening? Okay, we have Councilman Byrd, followed by Councilman Henderson.
Thank you so much, Chair. Could Blythe Bailey, could you come up for a second, sir? Thank you so much. For the we went on record a while back, and for this record, I wanted to see what plans, or do we have anything? It's been conversation about the traffic around Wilcox and Dotson, and concerning the new Avondale Center. And you explained to me a while back at a meeting with the committee and some community stakeholders, and I was wondering if you can explain it here as well, the process that's going on and how that is going to be addressed.
Yeah, we're going to work on, as I mentioned to you earlier today, we're going to work on, we take the safety, especially of children walking in our streets, very seriously, and we're going to look at during the construction, the remaining construction at the site, there's going to be some modifications that are going to happen as a result of construction. So we're going to go count cars and analyze traffic to see what kinds of recommendations we could make to make the street be safer.
Okay, and through that process, I know you have always continued to keep me in the loop, and thank you for coming to sit on the committee meetings that we have monthly. Please bring that information to our next committee meeting for when the process would definitely start. I know we're still in the construction phases and still getting things in order, so if you can just please, when we do the next meeting, come and let the committee know how that process is going along.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, sir. Vice Chairman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to announce I'm appointing Randall Addison to the Board of Sign Appeals. Madam Clerk. Randall Addison.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Would anybody else on this council like to share any other business? If not, we'll move on to committee reports. Councilwoman Byrd. Councilman Byrd. No report, sir. Councilwoman Coonrod. Thank you. Councilman Gilbert. No report. Councilman Henderson. No report. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Chairman. Today we did have a Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. We covered all items on our agenda, including 2 text amendments relating to outdoor storage and mini warehouses, and also A1 Urban Agricultural Zone. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We will have a Public Works and Transportation Committee meeting next week following agenda session.
Excellent. Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We will also have a public safety committee meeting next week, shortly after Public Works, and it will be in regards to a presentation on opioids.
Thank you, Councilman. Now, at this time, we've come to recognitions of person wishing to address the council on non-agenda items. Would you please, Mr. Attorney, with the
Yes, sir.
rules?
Item 11 on your posted agenda talks about recognition of persons who wish to address the council on non-agenda items, and this is that time. At the end of each council meeting, the chair will recognize members of the public who wish to address the council on these items. Each speaker can come up and be recognized at the microphone. No person can have more than 3 minutes to speak. The speaker may address the council only upon matters within the legislative and quasi-judicial authority of the council. Can't use any vulgar or obscene language, nor use the floor to personally attack nor personally denigrate others. Please address your comments to the council as a body and not to individual members of the council. And as far as the provisions of the rules on here, you are allowed to be able to talk to these matters in front of the council this evening, and anybody wanting to speak should come up. You can only speak at one time during the day. That's one of the issues on the rule, and you cannot speak more than twice in any 30-day time period.
The only person that has spoken twice in this 30-day period is Ms. Blake Wright. Who would like to speak? Good evening.
Good evening, Council. Marie Mott from Oak Grove. I woke up this morning and the good Lord smiled upon me when I cracked open the business section of the newspaper. And seeing that not only is Chattanooga moved up from being the 7th worst ran city in America to the 4th, but now that we have increased the standard of living as far as how much people are paying to live in the city of Chattanooga by 9.9%. Lord have mercy. It goes to show that obviously what you guys are doing up here is not really working. When we think about education, when we think about public safety, when we think about our debt as a city, we're spending a whole lot of money, we're approving a whole lot of projects, we're doing a whole lot of stuff, but when people look at the city of Chattanooga, they do not see a fervent progress, and certainly when I look in the African American, poor white, and Latino community, I do not see an equity that pulls us up to be able to survive in the city of Chattanooga. And firmly, I say, because I have not been able to speak about the business improvement section of what's happening in the city of Chattanooga and how this council is being bent to the will of rich, affluent white people, and not allowing those who are taxpayers, regardless of what the state says, you were voted for to have a seat by us, meaning you fight for us even against the state. And so that means that somebody up here has to have a backbone enough to say that regardless of what the state says, taxpayers have a right to say about what they want and don't want in their city. And they have a right to speak about equity and fairness in this city. They also have a right to give a basic economics education to obviously what our council is ignorant about on how we should understand that folks who claim that they are going to now pay taxes in which they've never had to pay before, it's going to end up being passed down to the people who are spending money or living in the city of Chattanooga. You guys aren't doing a great job, and not only is it not recognized just in the city, people all around this nation can look and see that you guys are doing a terrible job as well. And what a shame when this comes up right close to election. A reminder of the taxpayers, we the people have the power. And one thing that we should never take standing at this mic in particular, whether it comes from one council person or even the man that sits right in the middle and has a chairman under his name, is disrespect when we come up here and we speak and we fight for our neighborhoods and our city. My name is Marie Mott, and I can't wait until I win that seat for District 8. And I'm going to continue to fight for my neighborhood, my district, and every single Chattanoogan that deserves equity and fairness in this city.
Thank you for your comment. Who else would like to speak this evening?
Greetings. My name is Doug Eckert. I live at 144 North Crest Road, Missionary Ridge. I just finished last October a 3-year term as president of the Neighborhood Association for Missionary Ridge. Before that, I had a career of over 2 decades with state and local governments, including Assistant Chief Information Officer for the city of Nashville and also for Chattanooga during the end of the Littlefield administration and the early part of the Burke administration. And I'm here to ask your help in stopping the use of the city logo for selling insurance. The city has contracted out the use of its logo to market private residential sewer line insurance. I have received the offer twice now. My neighbors have received it. I have not heard of anyone who thinks that it's a good idea. Yet it continues. I think it's inappropriate to allow a private company to masquerade as the city of Chattanooga, even to go so far as to sign the literature, the city of Chattanooga. I have examples here if you would like to see them. I'll pass them on down to you. 2 letters that I have received. I think it's inappropriate. I think it's I didn't expect this getting old stuff to take as little time as it has, but I can tell you that if you try to reach somebody over the age of 65 anymore and they don't know your number, they're likely to snarl at you. Same thing when they get mail. They don't want to pay much of attention to it, and now we're getting mail that has nothing but the city of Chattanooga's logo up here. That's it. It doesn't say private insurance, but it is a private insurance company that achieved through a bid process the right to use the City of Chattanooga logo. Now, if you read far enough down into the letter, you will see where it says this is private insurance. But you shouldn't have to do that. The city shouldn't be trying to trick its own residents into buying insurance that costs $107 a year for the possibility that roots will grow into their private sewer lines. I think it's disgusting, and I would like you to stop it.
Thank you for your
Any
comment.
questions?
That's fine. Thank you, sir.
No questions.
Councilwoman Coonrod?
Thank you, Doug, for coming up and speaking today. Phil,
Yes, ma'am.
Can you give us a reason why they're able to utilize the city seal, or was it a bid process in order for them to use the seal? Or what, or Stacy, if you can't provide an answer?
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'd be glad to speak to that. So this is a service endorsed by the National League of Cities, and other cities have used it around the country. Every dollar that's brought in through this contract that we have with this provider goes to offset the cost of low-income sewer bills. So we use it for bill subsidy. That's the point of the program. It was done through a competitive bid process.
Okay. And it's for insurance so he would have to take out the insurance if he wanted? Or it's
Yes,
just
ma'am.
the
It's
way-
similar to Chattanooga Gas offers a similar program. Tennessee American Water offers a similar program. And we've actually had people contact our office. One of the reasons that we looked into this initially was we have a number of people who contact us that don't know that the sewer line between the road and their home is their responsibility. So we've had folks who have $10,000, $15,000 repairs and would have liked to have had an insurance option had they known that they needed one.
Okay, and does that mean that they still get to use the city seal on the information?
So it's included on our sewer
It's
bills.
included. Okay,
So that's why the city seal it's an official mailing of the city, but there's collateral about the private insurance option.
okay. Well, Doug, if you could.
I'd be
send
glad to
Doug
talk
out
to you,
us.
Doug, about why we do the program.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? You're through, Councilwoman? Okay, great.
Hi, I'm Aaliyah. Since the 4th of July is this week,
What is your last name, ma'am?
Aaliyah Wright.
Thank you.
Since the 4th of July is this week, I thought it would be relevant to look back in history in order to find wisdom for actions today. While many are familiar with the Revolutionary War and the Boston Tea Party, the Stamp Act is not as well known. The Stamp Act was an effort by Great Britain to provide funding for securing the colonies. The security of the colonies was very expensive, and the way that Great Britain devised to afford this cost was to create the Stamp Act, which was a tax on printed material. This tax was considered excessive and expensive, but the reason why it bothered the colonies was because it went around the colonial assemblies and was implemented by the landed gentry of Great Britain. It did so without the colonial assembly input. In response, 9 colonies sent their assembly representation to speak on their behalf. The ones that did not show did so because they were not allowed to. The person charged with listening to these complaints was invested in the success of the Stamp Act. He was called a loyalist. He had a clear conflict of interest. During these proceedings, a man, James Otis, discussed taxation without representation. And this came to define the motives for the entirety of the Revolutionary War. Taxation without representation. Taxation without representation. That was the mantra that our country was founded on. That was the argument that they took issue with the British over. It seems not much has changed in the 238 years since the first 4th of July. The United States has many problems. These problems are ever-changing. But despite our shortcomings, people have fought under the principle of taxation without representation for the right to vote, whether they were colonists, non-white citizens, or women. That was explicitly the justification we used in court. Every time we have decided as a country that being a citizen of the United States means that you get to speak on behalf of the money that you give this country. These patriots allow me to speak to you as a woman today about a proposal that goes against everything that these people have fought for. Some say there are pros and cons to the Business Improvement District, but the only con that I care about is the fact that it's completely undemocratic and is an affront to the people who shaped this nation. The red tape which this bid wishes to go around has been put in place to protect us. One could argue voices of dissent have built this nation and made it great. By bypassing the checks in place, we silence those voices. Those who support the Business Improvement District need to find a more democratic way to do the things they wish to do without silencing citizens who do not own property. Those who vote in support of bid should be ashamed. And if you need to look for a reason why, you need only to look at history. Vote no to the privatization of public space, and vote no to silencing citizens in the management of their own city.
Thank you very much for sharing.
My name is Darion Wood. A country music star recently opened a free grocery store in Nashville because the housing market in Nashville has created a housing problem, a problem where people cannot pay their rent and afford groceries. Last week, Google announced it was spending $1 billion to help deal with the housing pain it created in San Francisco. Microsoft has pledged $500 million to help deal with the same problem, a problem created by an influx of new neighbors buying and building overpriced homes in once working class and middle class communities. A problem created by home flippers and investors who don't care about the community but see a chance to make a profit. And by now, we should all know what happens when profit comes before people. I stand here as a native son of this city, a son who loved this city when it was called the dirtiest city in America, a son of a woman who traveled to Dalton to work, paid taxes in Georgia, then came home to Chattanooga every day and paid taxes here, like so many of the sons and daughters of Chattanooga after Wheeling Foundry and U.S. Pipe closed. We kept this city alive in its darkest hours when jobs were disappearing in this city left and right, like my father's job at Wheeling. Now those same people worry if they are welcome in this city. By welcome, I mean they wonder how long they can afford to live in Chattanooga in the midst of rising home and rental prices, which continue to rise with every short-term rental approved by this council. They wonder how long until they have to move to the outskirts of the city like many sons and daughters of Nashville have been forced to move to Antioch and Murfreesboro. They wonder will they be living in RVs on the streets like so many native sons and daughters of San Francisco are forced to do. We pride ourselves on being an innovative city. Well, let's stop trying to be like Nashville and San Francisco, and let's be innovative about real affordable housing and stop allowing investors to turn homes into hotels. If they want to invest in our hotels, let them buy a real one. Let's stop letting home flippers come into our communities, buy a $30,000 property, and turn it into a $220,000 property. That is not good for our community. We don't need a business district in Chattanooga. We need a homeowners district that denies purchasing from investors and that incentivizes home ownership, a district that rewards those who have been faithful to this city with home loans backed by this city. I won't pretend to have all the answers around the issue of housing policy. I understand it's complex, but we have to chart a different course because there is an iceberg in our current path. And many who believe that rising home prices are a good thing will find themselves drowning in a market flooded with empty rentals and homes outside of their price range. I am committed to show this council that I will be relentless about this issue to make sure that not just me, but that all people who stayed with Chattanooga as we suffered a recession before the rest of the nation are welcome in this city without having to pay more than 30% of their income towards housing. We shouldn't have to pay 50% of our income towards housing, as the mayor's recent study just showed. Thank you.
Can I get a, what's the pleasure, Council? They just sitting up in there. Thank you. We are adjourned.